Hi everyone, so today we're going to be talking about our blood types. Now, our blood types are determined by blood proteins that are attached to the outer shell of the red blood cells. And our blood proteins are also referred to as antigens. Now, the most common blood typing group is considered the ABO blood type group that actually has to do with three main antigens. So basically three main blood proteins. And these antigens are the A antigen, the B antigen, and the RH factor. Now, the RH factor actually represents the rhesus factor, and this factor was actually found in the blood of rhesus monkeys, and then through more experimentation was discovered that was also found in the red blood cells of humans. So that's why this factor is called the rhesus factor. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the different combinations of having these three antigens or having lack of these three antigens to form the 8 main blood types in the ABO blood typing group. So our first blood type would be considered O negative. The O is not actually like the letter O, but kind of like not, so not having anything. So the individuals that have O negative blood don't actually have any blood antigens on their red blood cells. So they don't have the A antigen, they don't have the B antigen, and they don't have the RH factor. Individuals that are O positive do not have the A or B antigen, but they do have the rhesus factor. So the positive and negative has to refer to having or not having the rhesus factor. So if there's a blood type that has a positive, that means they contain the RH or the rhesus factor. And if a blood type has a negative, that means they do not contain the rhesus factor. So our next blood types, we have A negative and A positive. A negative blood would be individuals that have the A antigen, and that's it on their blood cells. So it would just basically be, if you're looking at our schematic diagram of a red blood cell, it would just be a red blood cell with the A antigen on it. Individuals that are A positive have both the A antigen and the RH factor on it. Because again, the positive sign means you have the RH factor. The negative sign denotes that they do not have the RH factor. Now, of the first 4 blood types, one that's particularly important to note is O negative. And O negative is known as the universal donor. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about this in a few minutes. Now, if we look at the next 4 sets of blood types, we have our B blood groups. So B negative would only have the B antigen. So no A antigens and no rhesus factor. So it would just look like a red blood cell with our B antigen on it. B positive would have both the B antigen and the RH factor, because again, the positive sign means that you have the RH factor. And then we have our last 2 blood groups, which would be AB negative, meaning that you have both the A antigen and the B antigen and not the rhesus factor. And then our last possible is the AB positive group. And individuals that are AB positive have all 3 blood antigens, and they are considered the universal acceptor. So if we're just drawing a little bit of our sketch of our blood types, we have our, again, universal donor, which is individuals that are O negative. So if we're drawing a sketch of our blood type, it's just a red blood cell without any of our blood antigens attached to it. And we have individuals that can be considered the universal recipient. And these individuals are AB positive, and they have all 3 of the blood antigens on it. And we're going to kind of see why that's important right now when we talk about blood transfusions. So, blood transfusion is when you inject blood from one person into another person. And when we're talking about blood transfusions, we have two terms that we have to discuss: the donor and the recipient. So, the donor is the individual that is giving blood, and the recipient is the individual that gets the blood. Now, one key thing about blood transfusions is that the donor and the recipient blood type have to, in a sense, not necessarily match, but the blood proteins on the donor blood have to be found on the recipient blood. So that you can only accept blood that contains either the same antigens that the recipient has or a lack of antigens. And the reason why has to do with our immune response. And the cells that are responsible for our immune response is our white blood cells. So what happens is that if blood enters an individual with protein markers, with antigen markers that are not found commonly in the recipient's blood stream, well, that person's white blood cells are going to mark this blood as foreign. And what does the white blood cells do when they mark something as foreign? They attack it. So what would happen is that these individuals will the blood will agglutinate, and agglutinate means clump. So basically, these individuals will get lots of microscopic blood clots happening throughout their entire body. And this can actually be extremely dangerous because depending on where these blood clots happen, well, if it happens in the brain, that can cause a stroke. If it happens in the heart, that can cause a heart attack. So it's very, very, very important that when an individual is receiving blood, that the blood that they're receiving is compatible. And it really has to do with the blood antigens that you have on your blood. So a way that we can do this is looking at a blood compatibility chart. So what we have right here is we have our donor blood on top and our recipient blood on the side. So one key thing about blood compatibility is that you can only receive blood that has either the same antigens that you have or is lacking antigens. So if we're looking at O negative, O negative has no blood antigens on it because O negative blood, so O negative blood basically is just a red blood cell with no blood antigens on it. So that means O negative blood can give to, again, your same blood type, which would be O negative, can be given to O positive because O negative has no blood antigens on it. So that means you can give it to B negative, B positive, A negative, A positive, AB negative, and AB positive. So O negative can be given to every single blood type. That's why O negative is considered the universal donor, because since there are no blood antigens, so because there are no blood proteins on our red blood cells, it can be given to all. Now, if we're looking at O positive blood, so O positive blood has only the rhesus factor on it. So that means O positive blood could be given to, again, its same blood type. So if the donor and the recipient have the same blood type, they obviously can give blood. Can be given to B negative blood because B positive blood because O positive has the rhesus factor. B positive also shares the rhesus factor. Can be given to A positive blood and can be given to AB positive blood. Now, if we're looking at our next blood type, so B negative blood, so B negative blood would be basically our red blood cell with just the B antigen on it. So that means because it has the B antigen on it, I cannot give it to my O blood groups because they don't have the B antigen. I also cannot give it to my AA blood groups because they don't have the B antigen. I can give it to B negative because they both share the B antigen. I can give it to B positive because it has the B antigen on it. I can give it to a B negative because, again, it has the B antigen, and B positive. Now, if my donor blood is B positive, so that means I have two blood proteins on it, so two blood antigens on it. I have the B antigen and the RH antigen. So I can give it to my own blood type, so B positive, and I could also give it to AB positive because at AB positive, it has the B antigen and the RH factor. Now, if we're looking at A negative, so A negative would just have the A antigen on it. So A negative can be given to A negative because it's the same blood type, can be given to A positive because they both share the A antigen, can given to AB negative because they both share the A antigen, and then AB positive. A positive has both the A antigen and the RH factor, so that means it can be given to its own blood type, which is the A positive, and it can be given to AB positive because they have both the A antigen and the RH factor. Now, if we look at AB negative, well, AB negative has the A antigen and the B antigen, so it can give to itself and it can give to AB positive. Now, our last blood group is our AB positive, and AB positive has all three blood antigens. So that means AB positive, as a donor, can only give to itself, which would be AB positive. But if we look at from the recipient side, we see that AB positive gets all of the other blood types. And why it can get all of the other blood types is because it has the same antigen. So our AB positive is considered our universal recipient. So if we're looking at our definition of universal donor and universal recipient, our universal donor is O negative. It has no blood antigens on it, so that means it can give to everyone. And our universal recipient is AB positive since it has all three of the blood antigens on it, so that means it can receive all blood types. So if you are running a blood bank, the one blood type that you would actually want to have in very, very high supply would be the universal donor. Because since there are no blood antigens on the universal donor, it can be given to everyone. So in a pinch, sometimes if you have a lot of individuals that need blood very quickly, and you don't have enough time to test the bloods of the people that need blood, if you give them O negative blood, you know it's going to be safe because since there are no blood antigens on it, it can be given safely to everyone. So that's it for our blood types.